Hey guys, it's Kat, and today I thought I would put some makeup on my face. Now, I gotta go wash my hair, so I figure I'm gonna go bright, I'm gonna go bold, and if I stuff it up, I don't really care because I'll probably wash it off in an hour anyway, so it is what it is. But I thought this is a good opportunity to play with two of my most recent palette acquisitions. So I've got two. They're very different. That's the back of one. These two. They're very different palettes and they're not dupes, but at the same time, they're sort of the same vibe. So they're brights and they're all matte palettes. So I just thought it'd be fun to put one on one eye, sort of mimic it on the other eye, and give you guys an idea of what I think about the quality of these, because this is the first time I've ever used a Violet Voss palette. Some have piqued my interest. And if this is a really good quality one, I might invest in some more. But then this is Sugarpill. This is their latest palette, which is the Fun Size Mini Color Palette. And I have tried Sugarpill before, not for a long time. And I believe this is a different formula for them anyway. Now, what makes this a little bit different is it's a mini palette. So normally Sugarpill have quite large pans. For a lot of people, it's like a large layout for a lot of makeup, and especially with like bright mattes, if you're not going to use them a lot, the large pans are a little bit like daunting, and that's why I haven't delved into Sugarpill too much. Whereas this is a little mini palette, which is a lot better because for your everyday makeup user, that's all the product you need. If you're a performer or a makeup artist or something, okay, big pans make a lot of sense. For most people, this is a lot more palatable. So this is a palette that Haley and I placed an order, oh God, it's probably a month ago now, the day it released, and it took, I'm going to say 3 to 4 weeks to arrive. We made a big mistake. If you're in Australia, we should have waited a couple more days for this to come to Glam Radar, because when we order from Glam Radar, which is an Australian stockist, we receive the parcel the very next day. Whereas we ordered it directly from Sugarpill, we didn't know it was coming to Glam Radar, and we paid the price and got it like 3 weeks after people that got it from Glam Radar. So if you're interested in this and you're in Australia, get it from Glam Radar. Then I had a lovely subscriber of Beauty News send me this palette. So this is the Violet Voss Bright Vibes palette, and it definitely has some bright vibes to it. So you can see there, it is like super, super, super bright. So these aren't dupes. Like I said, this is a very neon palette. I love this color. It's amazing. These three here, gorgeous. So this is more neon. This is more like muted brights, but there are definitely some similarities. Not dupes. They're definitely not dupes. I don't think there are any shades that are dupes, but I think this is a good opportunity to sort of review two palettes in one video. Because let's be real, even though these really inspire me and that just, oh, it looks so amazing. The chances of me doing like a long review where I use it every day for a week or something is not going to happen with any of these palettes, because I see these as being like pops of color palettes where I'll wear sort of, you know, golds or bronzes or whatever I'm most comfortable with. And then if I want a pop of color, I reach for these types of palettes. So I'm not the kind of person that would wear this in a full look on a daily basis. So yeah, I find it hard to do long dedicated reviews on these types of products because it's just not how I wear my makeup. So for reference, the boxes are the same as the palettes. Which one's which? Palettes, boxes. And what I'll probably do is put Sugarpill on this eye and Violet Voss on this eye. All right, before I start, I might do some swatches on my arms. Now, I'm just gonna do them like here, not very close up, just to sort of see the color story of them. Because I'm curious. One thing I really liked about this palette, besides the size, was the sort of muted tones to it. So you can see here is more like a chartreuse, which I think is gorgeous. This is the type of color that I can easily work in with like olive greens. You have like a mint green, you have like an aqua, you have a periwinkle, sort of, I don't know, lavender kind of purple, a couple of pinks, a nice orange and a red. So these aren't your neon brights, but they are sort of, I don't know, they're like a weird mix between brights, pastels and muted, which I really find interesting. These are the first three shades from the Sugarpill palette. They remind me of the color story of the Linda Hallberg, is it the Spectral palette, something like that. But that had a lot of different finishes, whereas this is just matte. So let's do some swatches. That is actually matches my nails really well, but for a matte, it's not too bad. That is a little bit dull, but oh, bright. Sun's out, bun's out. Then we have that purple, which this is a color that I would work into a lot of looks. I think it's really beautiful. I could put that in the crease of a taupe. I could put that in the lower lash line. I think these colors are really beautiful. Whoops, memory card was full. Hopefully you didn't miss any of these, but these are the next 3 shades. So we have 2 pinks. One is more of like a Barbie cooler tone pink, and one is more of a corally pink, and we have a mint as well. So I'll go mint first. That is really, oh, it's really cool. It's sort of light but really bright. I think it's cool. Here's the corally sort of pink. Just looks like a standard pink. And this is more of the sort of Barbie cool tone pink. You can see this is a little bit more orange-ish. All right, last 3 shades. I really like that chartreuse. So I'd love, oh, it does look quite yellow on the skin, but it definitely has like a murky green tone to it, which I like. We have the orange and we have the red, which is sort of like a true red, a little bit fire truck, like a little bit orange based, but it's really, really pretty. So that's the spread, which is really nice. So this one's video game themed, has 9 shades, and the Violet Voss one is sort of like 80s themed and has 10 shades. And you can definitely tell there's more depth to these colors. You know, there are still the brights and the lights, but you do have some deeper colors here. I feel like we've just gone in reverse, but here's the first 3 shades. And let's have a look. So the red, oh wow, this is beautifully pigmented, but I'd call it more of a raspberry sort of strawberry shade. It's not true red. I think if you wanted true red, you'd have to mix it with this orange shade, which is next to it, which I would say is a neon red. So wow, these swatch really, really well. I'm really surprised. A little bit powdery, but they are neon mattes, so it's sort of what you expect. But yeah, I think if you mix those 2 together, you'd get more of a true fire truck red. I think this one is quite pink toned. Then we have this more tangerine. That's like a true neon tangerine. It barely even shows up. It looks like I've just highlighted my arm with a highlighter texture. Wow, look at those. Look at those. If you want neon, this is the palette to go for, I've decided. We've got the green. That is, oh, look at that. That is so bold and look how much is left on my finger. Wow, that green is beautiful. That's like neon lime green. We have this beautiful blue. Once again, quite crumbly, but really bold. Holy shit. Those dark shades are really beautiful as well. I love this. That looks like it's such a beautiful shade to deepen up a look. Oh, love it. So we've got dark blue. Gorgeous. We've got purple, flaky but gorgeous. We've got this dark pink color, pretty. And the last one is a neon pink, which is very, very bright and beautiful. So there we go. That is like a true rainbow. And what I do like about it is it's got the really, really, really bold neons, but it's also got some depth going on. So you can sort of create full looks with a bit of depth to it. But I would have sort of liked to have seen maybe another dark green. I sort of feel like you've got some really warm shades here. You've got 1 yellow, which is fine. 2 blues, 2 purples sort of overlap with the pink. I think it is sort of missing a deeper green to balance it out, but I think it's a really fun and it swatches really well. So on first swatch impressions, I actually think I like the quality of this one a lot more. We'll see how it applies in the eye, but I do like the colors in this one because I can see myself working them into more everyday looks than this one. This is so bright. Like I can see myself working in the blues and the purples pretty easily, maybe the orange and the red, but when you get to like this orange, by the way, looks quite yellow on camera because it's so vibrant, but it's a true like tangerine neon orange. They're very, very, very bright. There's no ifs or buts about them. There's no getting around it. It's a bold eyeshadow. All right, so I'm gonna just always start with the Sugarpill eye because it's a little bit lighter. And I am gonna use the same brush on each, but clean it with like a color switch type thing in between. But I wanna start with the shade Continue because this is the shade I'm most excited about. It's that sort of yellow chartreuse shade. And of course, there's no dupe for it in the Violet Voss, but they do have a yellow. I'm just gonna chuck this just in the inner sort of crease. And you can see I'm just using normal primer. I'm using the one that's in my project pan, which is the Bare Minerals Gen Nude Primer. This sticks exceptionally well. I haven't set the primer. Oh, I've got some stray brow action. I haven't set the primer, but I have had this sort of on for probably a good hour now, so it's set itself. But that applies really, really nicely. It's quite soft, it's quite subtle, but it's a beautiful color. And you can see yourself sort of wearing this with olive tones, bronzes, yellows and golds. It's a really nice color. Look how good these color switch things are. All right, I'm picking up the shade Neon from the Violet Voss, and you can see that it's just a lot more bold. I think on camera it actually looks quite similar. In person, this is just a lot brighter of a yellow. It doesn't have that slight swampy muted color, but this is very, very pretty and it applies really easily. This is just a small amount. If I wanted to build it up, I definitely could. I'm actually getting really excited for Violet Voss. There's a brown palette where I'm like, I really want that brown palette, but it's not available in Australia. But if the quality is this good, I'm going to track it down. So this builds up a lot faster, and I don't think I've ever seen a yellow quite as bold as this. So a lot more muted and sort of subtle, a lot more bold. It's the formula, it's the color. Another color that really inspires me from the Sugarpill palette is this purple, which is the shade Player 1. So I'm just going to put that in my outer sort of crease. Now this, once again, applies really nicely. It's not patchy, sort of blends on. There's enough color to it, but it's not so much that you're like, I don't know what to do. This is not blending out. It looks like it blends like a dream. I'm not a big blender. I get a bit lazy, but that holds its own as a color, but applies really smoothly, which is beautiful. So that's a really nice color that I can see myself using a lot. You can use these in like taupe looks, brown looks. It's a really fun way to inject a bit of color. All right, this is not at all a dupe, but I'm going for the shade Radical in the Violet Voss because it's the closest I've got. You can see that that is a lot darker. It's also a lot more, it's definitely more pastel looking compared to this. This looks like a straight up purple. And it doesn't blend as nicely. It builds up really quickly. But because it is so dark, you've got to be a little bit more careful at the blending. Still, it works really well, and this one does have the capabilities of really building up if you wanted to, because it is a bolder, brighter color. All right, with a firmer sort of packing brush, I've got the shade High Score, which is the orange, and I'm just putting that on the lid. It's looking pretty good so far. It doesn't require much building up to get quite bold and opaque. It looks quite vivid on the eye, which is really pretty. All right, same brush, just cleaned off, and I've got the shade Leg Warmers, which I think is probably the closest. Wow, this is a lot lighter. I'm a bit surprised actually. So this one has more of a white base to it, so it looks a lot more pastel and less orange on the eye. So it looks a lot brighter. Look how different that is. I was sort of expecting this one to be lighter and this one to be more vibrant, but this is a really soft color, but it really looks neon, which is crazy. Look at that. Granted, this palette also does have a darker orange, so if you did want to add a bit more depth, you can go in with that orange, but I wanted to sort of keep it the light one. We're now going to test out the reds. Same brush, I've just cleaned it off. So with Sugarpill, I'm going in with Game Over. I've just picked up a little bit on that, and we're putting that in the outer corner. So we're just sort of doing half eyes just to get as many colors on as possible. I'm not going to use all the colors because they don't all sort of line up and have dupes, and also it's a lot. This red is really beautiful. It's not one of those sort of deepening red colors. It's definitely sort of an alternative to maybe an orange. It definitely has orange tones to it. It's quite bright. There's a little bit of patchiness. I don't know if you can see, but I can definitely see that this needs a bit of packing on, but it is pretty. Getting a little bit more of that orange just on the same brush without cleaning it, just to sort of blend those together a bit better. As I do blend, it seems to be picking up a little bit of the red that I've packed on, but on camera, that looks divine. What a cool color. In person, it looks a little bit more muted, but it would be very striking for photos. All right, I think we'll see a bit of a difference here because the Violet Voss one is definitely more pink toned. This is a shade Fanny Pack, and you can see, hopefully, It just looks like a really red toned pink or a really dark raspberry matte. It does not look true red. Like this one's not true red. It looks really, really orange. This one looks really, really pink. Really vibrant and will mix really nicely with the purple, but it's very, very different. And if you're after a true red, this is just more like a really dark, vibrant pink. I'm actually going to pick up the shade Awesome, which is sort of the dark orange in this palette, just to sort of blend the two together because I do have a color that will do that. But this just highlights, this almost looks like a tequila sunrise. It's vibrant as fuck, but it's definitely a sort of pink. All right, I'm just going to blend that out a little bit just to mix it into the purple a tad. Getting a tiny bit of fallout here as well. Hopefully if I brighten the screen a little bit, you can see how that is this like neon pink rather than red, whereas that is a beautiful sort of orange tone. It's like a sunset, which is really beautiful. So I think the main difference I'm seeing right now, they both had a little bit of fallout that I've just cleaned up, which is fine. This one had it too. But this one is really, really, really vibrant. I think because the orange was so sort of white-based, it made it really pop on the eye. This look like it stands out. It looks like stage makeup. It's very, very intense. It's very fun, but it definitely fades into more of that pink, which is also really, really vibrant. It looks like a dark neon pink, whereas this one looks more like a sunrise. It looks a little bit more, it's definitely colorful, but it's a little bit more muted colorful, which I think sort of works with my vibe a little bit more, but they're both really cool for like different reasons. All right, on the lower lash line, I'm going more cool toned. I've got a little bit of that mint green, which is called Twitch, and I'm just putting that on the inner portion. My lower lash line has no primer, so this is literally just sticking to my skin, which is good. It's working. It looks good. That's a beautiful mint green. On the Violet Voss eye, we don't have a mint, but of course we've got a neon, so let's go neon green. All right, I want to go this sort of aqua blue color just on the inner portion or middle portion to sort of transition. This is a beautiful color. It's like I don't know, if you imagine like someone drawing the ocean or something, this is like an aqua ocean blue. It's beautiful. This is a color I'd love to put just on the lower lash line or a pop of color somewhere. It's a really, really nice tone. Of course, Violet Voss doesn't do things in halves. This is Acid Wash, which is a really, really vibrant blue. I think this is going to be beautiful as well. I've already got some fallout on my cheek, but I'll get rid of that soon. This is beautiful as well. Last shade is the Periwinkle shade. This is 8-bit, and I'm just going to put that in the outer corner there. A little bit of fallout, not that big a deal. And I'm sort of just slightly blending it into sort of a wing shape to meet the top. Because I don't have a similar shade in the Violet Voss, I'm going this sort of darker blue, which is really beautiful as well. And this is just going to go, once again, bit of fallout. Probably would be good to do your base last with these sort of colors because they are quite bold. This one's a little bit harder to blend just because it's a darker shade. All right, these are the looks before I just go put some mascara on. I don't think I'll do some liner because it's more about showing the eyeshadows. This one definitely looks more like vibrant colors. This is like bold primary, secondary colors. You can really see the purple and the blue and the green, whereas this one is a little bit more muted. You see more nuances with periwinkle and mint. And a beautiful red. That red, I think, is what makes this eye for me look a lot better. Tones really complement people's eyes. This one looks a lot more festival. So I think I like the blues. I think they're beautiful and they're intense. But I really like the lid color on this one a lot more. So I'm torn, but let's do some mascara. All right, so I'm back with some mascara. I've just put on my clumpy friend, the It Cosmetics Superhero Mascara, and because that's quite clumpy, I tried to brush it out a little bit with my MAC. This is the Extended Play Lash Mascara, which is a really nice sort of separating mascara. So that's what I've done. Nothing too crazy because I'm probably going to wash this off in 10 minutes, but I like both of them. I'm sort of surprised, but the thing that I keep looking at is that red to orange patch there. I think it's divine. But let's zoom out and I'll let you know what I think about these palettes just on first impression. All right, stepping back, this is a strange look. You can definitely see how different depths of colors can really change an eye shape, because I look like I've got really wonky eyes right now. So here I've got a lot of lightness and then a lot of darkness, which sort of makes my eyes look a lot more elongated. Whereas here, because it's a lot more flat of a tone, it sort of lifts my eye a little bit, but also, yeah, it just changes the shape. It looks completely different, which is really, really strange. So I like both eyes. I personally vibe with this color story a little bit more. I can see myself working it into my normal routine a little bit more. So this top lid, I can imagine wearing it with like gold on my lower lash line, or I can see myself replicating these colors on the lower lash line, wearing it with brown. I can see myself using sort of this color, which is like mint to aqua to periwinkle. I can see that with just like a cool toned neutral lid. So I can see a lot of ways that I would incorporate these colors into my daily makeup routine. Whereas this one is so much more vibrant and so much more festival that I love the colors, and I think the vibrancy it's created, I don't think I have anything quite like it. Like that neon orange, even though it looked really light and pastel when I first applied it, the effect that it gives on the eye is really, really beautiful. So I like this for more edgy sort of bold makeup, but I see myself wearing this a little bit more. But what I'm going to do now is run through the palettes just on first impressions, let you know what I think the pros and cons are, and who I would recommend the palettes to if you're sort of tossing up between the two, and ultimately what I think of these. So we'll start with this little one. One thing I do like about it is the size. I think when it comes to these sort of colors, you don't wear it on a daily basis, or not everyone does, most people don't. So this size is perfect. When this swatched, I thought the colors were really beautiful, but it didn't look very pigmented. But one thing that swatches don't show you is really how it applies on the eye. And one thing I found about this, and this is what I prefer out of brights, is that it applies soft, but you can build it up. And I like that, because sometimes you want to stop at soft, or sometimes you want to blend out soft and build up just a small portion. And I found this a lot easier to apply and blend, because when you do put it on, it sort of blends itself and it doesn't deposit so much color that you're like frantic about, shit, I got to blend this out. It just sort of blends itself, and then you can build up the areas you want. So I found this was really, really nice in the application. I also found that the tones, even though some of them were a lot more sort of subdued compared to a neon or a primary color palette, I found these colors, like I didn't use the pinks, but I did find that most of these shades, even though they are brights and they definitely do stand out and they do hold their own on the eye, I can see them working with more neutral shades a lot better than the really bright palettes. So for me, this is a safer palette if you want to get into some brights, but you're a little bit concerned about something that's a little bit hard to use or too bold. I think this is a really nice one. There was a little bit of fallout, but there wasn't too much. There's a little bit of kick up in the pan, but very minimal. And I definitely think this is a more user-friendly palette. Now, if you look at that palette and you're like, that is kind of boring. I don't want a basic red. I don't need more pastels. I want something neon. Give me something really bright. Then this is the palette you would prefer. So this one, okay, you get a lot of product in here. There's more kick up in the pan. I'm not sure if you can see, but there is a little bit more kick up in the pan. This is a softer formula, like swatches beautifully and does apply pigmented and really beautiful. But along with that, there's a little bit more of a challenge to blend. Wasn't very hard to blend, but because a lot of these colors are darker colors, so I'm looking at these ones down here. If you do want to blend that into the crease, or one of these into the crease, you can find yourself wanting to reach for something like this to help blend it out a little bit, because it is like if you take a black and you want to blend it softly into a gray and then like fade into your skin, that's a really hard thing to do. But if you take a gray, put it down, and then sort of build up the gray to make it darker and darker, and then add a little pop of black, it's so much easier. So I feel like this one did need some lighter shades to help it blend. So this is a really, really bold. You can see the colors really distinctly, and I was sort of really thinking to myself, oh, I'd love like a light purple just to sort of blend that purple out a little bit more, but it doesn't have it. But then again, it is a like neon rainbow palette. If you wanted to reach for a mauve to blend it out, you reach for another palette. These are just delivering the really, really vibrant shades. So even though these are exceptionally bright, some of the shades are really, really fun, really, really beautiful. I do think that like the yellow and the orange, so vibrant. The orange was such a strange one. I put it on, I'm like, this looks light, it looks pastel, but it really like stands out and it's so like vibrant on the eye. It's really, really beautiful. I really love these blues. I think they're gorgeous. And I do like that there's more depth to this. So if you did want to reach for this type of palette, but you wanted to add more depth in the look, these sort of purples and blues can really add that depth that this one didn't quite have. I think the main thing that I didn't like about this was that the red is more of a dark pink, because true reds are really cool colors and can really make or break a look. And I think what these two looks come down to for me is I prefer this tone of red. I think it's more of a true red. I think it works a little bit better with the orange. I think it creates more of a sort of sunrise, beautiful faded look, whereas this one is more of a bright raspberry red. And even though it is very, very fun and works nicely with the purple, I feel like it's a bit pink heavy. Of course, there are two oranges next to it. So if it had an orange tone, it was probably too orange heavy, but I would have loved that to have been a really bam true red, because it would have added a little bit more versatility to this palette. As it is, it's gorgeous, but because it does look quite pink on the eye, I think it limits what you could have possibly used it for. A true red would have been fantastic here. I think I did mention that this had a little bit more kick up in the pan, and it did have a little bit more fallout, and because the shades are so pigmented, you have to be really careful with it. I found just sort of brushing it away wasn't a big deal, but if you're wanting to do quite an intricate look, you'd want to do your base second, because this could mess up your base. This one is less likely to, because it's a little bit lighter in pigment. So yeah, overall, I like both these palettes. I'm not going to lie. I'm going to say that probably the one that vibes with my style more is this one. Just in more how I like to apply my eyeshadows. I'm a little bit careless, so I do like something that gives me a little bit more room to mess up, which I found that this one did. I also find these slightly more muted tones. So it's not a vibrant purple, it's like a lavender purple. It's not like a vibrant blue, it's a periwinkle blue. These sort of colors, like this chartreuse, I can definitely see myself incorporating some of these more toned down shades into looks more regularly. I also really, really like the red. I think it was beautiful. So this one for me just ticks a little bit more boxes with, how I like to apply it and the looks I like to create. But if I wanted something that was bam pigmented, this is the one I'd go for. There is no denying how gorgeous this is. I wouldn't call this all neon. It is saying it's a neon palette, but there is like some neon shades, probably like these ones are probably neon. These ones, not so much, but these are colors that you can't really get neon in. But it's a really comprehensive rainbow bright palette, very pigmented. Would have liked another green, just for my personal preferences. But I think it's fun, and I was really impressed with the quality of this, because the pigmentation was spot on. And like I said, if I just had some lighter shades to help blend it, blendability wouldn't have been an issue. It's just that a lot of them are so bold and pigmented that you sort of have to reach for other palettes to help make it work a little bit. But this has really sparked my interest in Violet Voss. And I really want to get, I know it's discontinued, but I really want the taupe notch palette. And I think there was another one that's sort of like browns. I sort of want to try browns from this brand, because this is beautiful quality. All right, so was that review helpful and necessary? Probably not. There's probably only very few people that were tossing up between which one to buy of these two. They're both fairly new palettes, so look, I thought it was fun to do together, and I wanted to put some fun makeup on my face today, so that's what I've done. But hopefully it was, something. And to be fair, I'm probably going to use both of these in conjunction, because I can really see using some of these light pastel blues and greens with these blues and greens. I can really see using that light purple mixed with the dark purple to deepen it. So I do have a place in my life for both of these. They're very fun palettes. All right, I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.